Hi, welcome to This Grandma's Life podcast. I'm your host, theciaellis. Get ready to laugh, learn, and grow with me as we explore growing old in an ever changing world. Today is June 16, 2023, and this is episode 34, and it's entitled That Was One Wicked Storm. Okay, first of all, we got some farm happenings. I say farm happenings. I don't know. I may have to change that title because it's more than just what's going on the farm. Kinsey has been in it. She went to one basketball camp a couple weeks ago. Now she's doing a different basketball camp that's like every Monday. And so I missed the first one that she had done with that because I was doing kids camp, but now I went to the one last Monday, and I'm hoping to go to every one after that too. So it's fun. I love watching her play. I love watching her do stuff. It's a little nerve wracking because she is so small, and for a non contact sport, she gets hit a lot and bruised up too. Okay, we got a little bit done on the bathroom walls last Saturday. Not done very much. In fact, I haven't done anything with the bathroom since mowing and season and gardening season, all that other stuff started. But this last Saturday, it was rainy, so we decided to work inside, and I thought we were going to get a good bit done. Now Tom did get some stuff done. He got the light a outlet moved so that we can have it outside of the wall, and because my new shower is going to be wider, so the old outlet was going to be behind the shower, so we didn't want that, so we moved that. And I was really hoping to get some actual wall panels up, but I've done something to my feet, one foot in particular, and it ends up that I've got like, I think it's called Achilles insertion tendonitis, basically where my Achilles tendon attaches to the bottom of my heel, or near the bottom of my heel, the back of my heel. It's very swollen, and I've been kind of dealing with this for a long time anyway. My right foot swelled up, and was I was finally got it's still swollen, but it's back down what it was. But this left foot kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I kept getting bigger shoes, and yeah, my foot, the back of my heel is so swollen that it's cramming my toes into the fronts of my tennis shoes. And I actually went a couple of weeks where I couldn't wear regular shoes at all and couldn't go to the gym. And that was really frustrating. And I guess it kind of worked out to a point because I was at the kids camp for that week, and in Crocs. And that still was it's still painful, but yeah, I guess I found the right. I found out I decided to go. I went to a doctor and told her, we got to do something about this foot. And then she sent me to a podiatrist, but then the podiatrist was not in our insurance. So I think that kind of worked out in the long run because I talked to a trainer at the gym, and she goes, "Oh, I don't know if I'd go to a podiatrist for you. It sounds like you need physical therapy." And I thought, yeah, you're probably right. So then I looked up, Googled physical therapy, and all you have to do is just like go up on your toes several times a day. I guess they go on calf raises or something like that. I don't know what they're called, but it actually is helping. I'm still sore. I'm still tender. I went to a gym class today, but I only participated for the first 30 minutes of it instead of the full hour, which is a bummer because I really like this instructor and I really like this class, but I can only do so much, and I'm hurting. And that Saturday, I don't know. I didn't even step wrong or anything. I just remember stepping when we were doing chores, and significant burning pain, and that foot swelled up big, big, big. And I told Tom I can't do it. I have to stop for the day, and that's what I did. I stopped for the day, and actually had to take an old pain pill, one we've had around for a few years, and so I sat there being pretty high, and even as old as it was, I'm a wuss. I only take an ibuprofen every once in a while, and I don't take Tylenol because that's just a waste of medicine. And so when I took this pain pill from like a long time ago, it was still plenty for me. It helped with the pain, and I could actually relax a little bit because I was in tears on it. So I still got a lot of work to do on the bathroom. I'm kind of bummed about that. I really had hoped to get something done that day. Well, Tom's been doing a pretty good job of taking care of the garden, and we actually had our first ripe tomato the other day. It was one of the little cherry tomatoes, and I don't eat raw tomatoes, but they like them, and I'm glad to have the cherry tomatoes. We've got some bigger tomatoes that I can, for slicing or for canning and stuff like that. So we do have them, but the very first ripe tomato happened the other day, and of course everybody was excited about that. I had 11 ducklings hatch. And I got them into the brooder, and so, and everybody knows. Well, everybody knows. I say, you probably know that ducklings are incredibly messy. I guess all ducks are, but I mean, they can go through water like nothing you ever saw. And so their bedding gets soaked and everything's nasty. And so I have one of those, I don't know what's called. It's like a playpen. um, it doesn't have a bottom to it. It was like it's a plastic fence that you can put out, and the mesh is, when it's not a mesh, it's all plastic, hard plastic, but the holes in it are small enough that the ducklings can't get out. So I put water and feed in there, and during the daytime when it's sunny, and I have less to clean up, and they're getting a little grass and a little bit of sun. I have it covered, so if they want sun, they can have it. But if they don't, they can be underneath the cover. So, yep, I got 11 little ducklings out hatched and going back and forth between the brooder um, and the playpen area. And the farm happening is like, oh, that wicked storm, and I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. It was it I was surprised. I've been around a long time and I've been through some wicked storms, but this was kind of this one this one was right up there with some of my top storms I've been into. Okay, my three things. My three things are things that you do, that you make a priority at to get you where you want in life. My number one thing today is fitness. So it's piloxing. I went to the piloxing class. Did that for part of the day, and I'm hoping to get continue to heal so I can get back in full force at the gym. But I did the piloxing. I did my Friday errands, and I don't know if that's part of the would be considered my three things, but we'd get off hungry and have a lot of issues if I didn't do my Friday errands. I mean, I've got food here and I got enough to last me for a while, but I've got teenagers here. They eat a lot of junk. My husband likes a lot of junk, and I get feed on Fridays. And so, Friday errands kind of keeps everybody going. So I guess that is a priority. And then today is posting the podcast. I wrote vlog and I meant podcast because this is never mind. So those are my three things. I got two of them done already, and we're in the process of doing the podcast now. What I'm reading, I'm still part of that 4-volume set on the Edgar Cayce collection. And this is Edgar Cayce on Dreams by Harmon H. Bro, PhD. It was written in 1968 as part of the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And we're on part 3, and it's called ESP and Dreams. This is chapter 10. There wasn't anything in chapter 9 that I had marked or had anything to do with, so I went on straight to chapter 10, The Dreams of the Living Dead. And this is on page 117. It says, in the outlook of the Edgar Cayce readings, death is a transition for the soul as birth is a transition, but it's not an extermination. And it was easy kind of read over that and or gloss over it, but then when you kind of think about it and dwell on it a moment. So let me read it again. In the outlook of the Edgar Cayce readings, so he does readings, he goes into these trances and does readings for people's. Death is a transition for the soul as a birth is a transition, but it is not an extermination. If you think about it, when we die, when we contemplate our death, I mean, those of us who are Christians believe we're going to heaven, and a lot of other people don't know what to believe, don't know what to think, and but I have to, regardless of what the transition is, do we know if we go to heaven right immediately, or what? So the transition to where? Do we go straight to heaven? Do the people who don't believe Jesus as their Lord and Savior, do they go straight to hell? I dwell on that somewhat because I understand, and I believe the Bible, part of the Bible that says that only through Jesus can people go to heaven. Okay, but what about the people who are really good people who never heard of Jesus and stuff? Do they go to hell? Is there someplace else they can go? Is it, I don't know. So that kind of has me thinking about it. Okay, on page 122, it says, yet contact between the dead and the living can be joyous. Sometimes it occurs because the dead want to show the living what death is like, to take away their fear and grief. One dream took a man inside the brain of a woman dying of cancer. A relative and showed him of cancer, a relative, and showed him precisely what relief death was. when it finally came. A later dream also showed him how soul feels when awakening to the consciousness after death and discovering he is with his body underground and then bursting out through the dirt towards the light. The startling fact, Casey said, is that the death state is more nearly a normal one for soul than its earthly existence. The human question of whether earthly consciousness survives death is backward. The important question for soul is how much of it is normal awareness and creativity and contact with the divine will survive its birth into a body. I think I have trouble reading some of this because the cadence and language is older, so sometimes I stumble over the words. But there was a lot to unpack here. And okay, so these are from the dreams of regular people and their experiences in these dreams regarding death. And so, it says the contact between dead and living can be joyous. Sometimes it occurs because the dead want to show the living what death is like, to take away their fear and grief, like the person who was dying of cancer and the other person showing them what it felt like. I thought that, and what a relief it is when they do want to die, or when they actually will die. Um, but then this other part here is the important question for a soul is how much of its normal awareness and creativity and contact with the divine will just survive its birth into a body. So he's saying that actually death is more normal. The state of death is more normal than our life on earth. So, and I'm wondering if it's because, if you think about it, we're only on Earth for a short amount of time. We're talking about a lot of millennial or whatever. We got a lot of time that we're not alive on Earth. So I wonder if that's what makes it more normal and not. I don't know. And so it is hard to imagine that death truly is more normal, a more normal state of consciousness. So I don't know. I think that was interesting. That's all I got for chapter 10 there. But um, I don't know. And I don't even know how much of that I believe, but he believed it. He did the readings, and he was a devout Christian. And so, if nothing else, it makes you pause and think about what your own true beliefs are in certain areas, and makes me want to learn more. And I'm not exactly sure how. I mean, I read the Bible and stuff, and I try to derive information from the Bible, but we don't always understand what it's trying to tell us either. Okay, also, I'm part of a Level Up mastermind group, and if you guys are interested in being involved with some of that, let me know, and I'll get a link for you. This is a really cool thing. We're going through a book a month, and right now we're reading The Happiness Advantage, and it's been kind of interesting. I think this is our third book that we've gone through, and the first and third Thursday of the month, we all get together on like a Zoom chat and discuss what we've learned in the book and how we're applying it to what we're wanting to do. This is kind of a thing where we're all trying to better our lives in one form or another. Like one of them, she's a real estate agent, and the guy who runs this, Ken Esch. And some of you know who he is. He built Taj Mahal for Nicole's house on Living Free in Tennessee. He does. He's learning to do coaching, but he's also a carpenter. That's the reason he built the that building for Nicole. But he's trying to go down a different path, and we're all trying to do kind of different paths. I mean, because I'm a homesteader and I'm a YouTuber and stuff, but I'm also I want to learn how to develop businesses and earn some money even at my age. And we all encourage you. Oh, and there's another young man there. He's a cousin. I can't remember his name. They're all of them that are in there, just wonderful, nice, pleasant people. We encourage each other. We discuss the books. We discuss what we've learned from these books. And so if you're interested, let me know and I'll get you a link to that, and you can sign up and maybe be part of our group too, and we can encourage you in whatever endeavor you want to go along with. But like I said, we're reading The Happiness Advantage, and I'm reading it. I'm trying to read about 10 pages of it every night, and I'm also listening to it on audiobook. So that's been pretty cool too. And I'm not telling anything about it because it is going to go into my stack of stuff that I will read to you somewhere down the road. All right, my quote of the day is from Smiley Blanton, MD. So he's a doctor, and he was an American psychiatrist and psychoanalyst that lived from 1882 to 1966, and he wrote my diary of my analysis with Freud. So he actually got to spend some time with Freud off and on for a few years, uh, and so I was learning psychoanalysis from him and stuff too. And I guess personal psychoanalysis, I'm not exactly sure, but he wrote the book, My Diary and My Analysis with Freud. And Blanton also served in World War One. So his quote is, anxiety is a great modern plague, but faith can cure it. And I have resonated with that. Guys, you got to know, I've got a whole folder full of quotes, and I have to admit, it doesn't take me long to find a quote that fits whatever it is I'm considering talking about for that day. And this one is anxiety. I was struggling with some anxiety the other day, and he was saying it's the great modern plague, but faith can cure it. And I did feel that when we were going through the storm the other day, I was under intense anxiety for a while. I could see over time that things were okay, and that I had all my animals and everything was going to be okay. But the anxiety of being in it was it was stressful. But I was also overall very grateful that none of us were hurt. And so that's why I chose that particular um, quote. Also, the scripture of the day, I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. Psalm 104:33. And this also connects with that quote. If you are struggling with anxiety and dealing with a situation that's difficult for you to handle at the time, then that's a good time for prayer and singing. And like I said in Psalm 104:33, I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. And you don't even have to sound good doing it. Just do it. Just like I always tell you all the time, live, sing, dance, whatever, be part of life. Enjoy yourself here to the very best of your ability. All right. The main subject is the storm. The other morning I got up, and when I get up first thing in the morning, I get a cup of coffee and I sit there and I do some book work. I record the weather, what's going on for the day, record what happened. I record things on my phone all day long on the Homestead, and then in the morning I transfer it to my book, and my Homestead book and writing. It's a day planner basically. And so I was doing that in the morning. I looked at the radar, and it looked like a pretty good storm was coming at us. And so I woke my husband up because I don't have a bathroom in the house. I mean, the girls have their bathroom in the house, but ours isn't. And so I woke Tom up a little bit early, and I told him, I said, there's a pretty good storm coming. You should get up early. It's only about 5 minutes, and you should get to the bathroom and get your shower and get done before this storm hits. It looks like it's going to be pretty wicked. And I had no idea. Well, it's kind of interesting because I'm going to have a video coming out here the next few days that's going to show the sky was so cool looking. I got the video of the sky being cool. What I didn't get was footage of the storm itself, and it was amazingly strong. It was incredible. And I guess the only other thing I could think that even came close to it, whenever I was a kid, we lived next to the Arkansas River there in Tulsa, and a storm came through, and it was just straight line. That was pretty much what we had this time too, was straight line winds, and huge tree. I don't even know what kind of tree it was, but I watched it bend over, double over. The tops of the branches touched the ground, and it snapped back up. And I was surprised that the whole thing didn't break over. And that's kind of what we were looking at with this storm. But Tom stayed in the barn, and I was glad. But our bathroom in the barn is also our hidey hole. It is a concrete room that has a shower and a toilet and a sink in it. And so when you're in a concrete room like that, you don't really know what's going on. And I sent him a message saying, don't come out of the barn, stay there. And so he had to stay there for a little while. And I was glad he did, because there was a lot of really crazy damage. Once the storm subsided, well, while it was going, um, it was literally blowing, and I've got an overhang over from my porch to my house to my porch, and of course the flashing is messed up on it, so there's stuff that comes down. And you guys know that you can see daylight around several places on my door, but it was blowing rain in through the closed front door and down the hallway. It was blowing so hard, and it sounded like on the north and the northwest side. It sounded like uh, it was sand. The rain was hitting so hard, it sounded like the building was being sandblasted. So when it finally calmed down, I could tell that there was going to be some damage because two metal barrels were knocked over, and I'd seen a couple other things. Well, oh my gosh, we get out there, and one of the first things I had seen is it was kind of a makeshift covering over the trailer house, the camper that we used to live in. Um, Parts of it were actually screwed down to some posts that we had, and then to keep them in place better because it's always windy, we had actually, and it was laying on top of the trailer house. And so we had some like cinder blocks. They weren't they were like pavers, more like pavers, something like that. I don't know what they were called, but they were on top of the metal to hold the metal down so they didn't pop up and down with the wind that we usually have around here anyway. But the one piece of the metal was totally twisted, and it's still up there. And when it twisted, it actually twisted down one of our support posts that was buried. I can't remember if they're 18 inches or if they were 2 feet. They were set and in concrete in there. We put concrete in the holes too, and that one post was tweaked and definitely out of alignment. And the one piece of metal is still up there, but it's all twisted. And another piece of metal got blown off, and some of the pavers that were up there were actually thrown probably about 40 feet and laying in the middle of the driveway. So that was kind of crazy. And we had seen also while we had ducklings that were loose, the older ducklings, ones that are about a month old. I had them one of the John Suskovich style chicken tractors, and it was kind of crazy because just before the storm hit, I'm thinking, man, I better take the wheels off that chicken tractor so it doesn't roll too far. And actually, that really wasn't too big an issue. There were some, I think, two or three ducklings did get out because it did get screwed across the field. But by the time I thought of doing it, I could tell it was too late. The lightning was like right there, the thunder was right there, and I probably would not have even made it out to the chicken tractor before I probably would have been blown off my feet too. I don't. I think somebody estimated the wind was like 80 mile an hour, but it could have. I don't know. I think somebody also said that they were going to send some sort of government agency like NOAA or something like that out to actually see if we were that there was part of a downburst or anything like that. But yeah, I wouldn't. It was so close to time when I thought it was like, well, okay, we'll see what it is. So the that one chicken tractor, it held together pretty good, but I did have a couple ducklings out, so we were herding them back into their thing. But the other chicken tractor was shredded. The tarp on it was completely shredded, and I thought, oh man, okay, I'm not surprised about that because our winds shred the tarps on them anyway. But I didn't realize until we got closer that not only was the tarp shredded, but the whole chicken tractor was laying on its side. And so my breast chickens were just going nuts and running around everywhere. And the mobile egg unit, I think the only thing that blew off it was the little ramp that let the chickens can go up and down, and anyone could have knocked that off. So the mobile egg unit, even as high profile as it is, it held up pretty good. But I thought, okay, this is a good chance to integrate the breast birds with the other ones, so I have fewer pins to feed. And in the long run that evening, I mean, tried to throw them in there. Got all of the chickens thrown in there with the other birds, except for one, and she was off in that because I had a lot of help with my dogs that morning, especially Beethoven. And so one of them went off into the bushes, but I knew that she would be safe and would come back. So that evening, I come back, and all all three hens and the one rooster were together, but they were not inside the pen with the other birds. And so I had to try to. I did end up getting them all together and into their original pen, even though the only thing I had on it was chicken wire and frame. So they didn't have a roof, but it wasn't raining at that time, so I'm sure they were totally freaked out because they didn't have any cover over them, and it looked like they were out in the middle of the field. But we got them taken care of, and that evening and done. But their chicken tractor, I'm gonna have to do some work on it. Let's see. Oh, my skirting, guys. My skirting got shredded in a couple of places. It things that we had screwed into the house is got ripped out. So I got I got to work on skirting again. It's been a while, but yep, I'm gonna have to start working on the skirting again. My brooder shed, I knew that it was going to be an issue because when the wind blows, even with the doors closed and batten down, I sometimes my doors blow off. and obviously they were, but the back of my brooder shed was blown out too, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I was hoping to put my newest ducks in there pretty soon, but I'm going to have to do some work on it before I can get them in there. And there was one more thing, I can't remember what it was. uh I don't. Oh, and it blew the cover off of the turkeys, so they don't have a roof over them right now. So that was in a nutshell. Well, and I went to go check on my piglets. My poor piglets, they were so freaked out. They were off into off out in the weeds and bushes and stuff. But all of them came back, and I was grateful for them for seeing that my piglets were back, and none of my pigs had gotten hurt, and I was grateful for that too. My neighbor who lives about a mile to the west of me, he's one that does Duraland. I've kind of told you a little bit about it, and either in well, I have some old videos of his place too. He keeps his place immaculate. He's got a creek that runs through his property, and I think he has like 6 bridges that goes across of it, and one of them was even a over with a bridge with a roof over it. Beautiful bridge. And in fact, last year or the year before, they had a pretty good flood, like had like 100-year flood, and it took out all of his bridges and even that beautiful covered bridge. And so there's actually, if you look at some of my old videos on my YouTube channel, on Grandma's Homestead, you'll see his place. It's just beautiful, and he had enough damage because he's got gorgeous trees that the Baptist Association actually called out their disaster team to cut up trees. So some of the youth went over there that evening. I guess so that had to have been Wednesday because they went over that evening to pick up tree limbs and twigs and stuff that the disaster team had left, because they were more interested in cut. Because I think it fell through his carport or something. I haven't been over there. I had too much of my own stuff I had to take care of. And downtown, well, at our church property, I was kind of surprised because our marquee sign, if anything's gonna sustain damage, it's the old marquee sign because it's kind of flimsy, and it's sustained damage in the past, but it looked fine, so I didn't think too much about it. And then Tom called me later and told me he heard about a few places that had some damage. So when I was coming back from town later on that day, I looked and we had 2 trees down over by the playground. And then I went around the corner and checked the places that he was talking about. It's Barbie's Heat and Air. They had bought another little building that used to be a tire shop, and it ripped part of the roof off and caved in one whole side of the wall. I've never seen that when a straight line wind or a wall caved in. I mean, not in real life, You look at it and go, oh my gosh, that had to have been an incredible wall. When part of me goes, well, how flimsy is that building? Well, it's been in the Oklahoma wind all these years, so it can't have been too flimsy. But yeah, there was, and then I found out later, I didn't see it, but the childcare place right next to it, I guess the building itself didn't take any damage, but some trees like went right through like 3 vehicles, and I think a couple of them were like brand new and stuff. So yeah, it was quite the storm here. So it was stressful, and but I did as best I could tell. I didn't lose any animals, so I have to be grateful for that. Yeah, I've got some storm damage to clean up. I've got to put my skirting back up. I got to figure out how to put my brooder shed back together. I've got to do some work on my chicken tractor, but that's so minor compared to what could have happened, as wicked as that storm was. But it was nerve wracking, but I'm grateful that I didn't lose anything or anybody. It was kind of funny because Tom actually was in the safest place during that storm because he was in the hidey hole, and the girls and the dogs and I are all, well, one of the dogs was in, apparently she did not have to be coaxed to coming into the bathroom. She was right in there with Tom, and it's not that big a room. But they he was in the safest place, and I was glad for that. And we did okay in the trailer house too. I mean, we've got some wind damage there, but man, I'm glad that's over. Now we just got to start cleaning up and everything. Okay, so that was my main subject, and I have to tell you a little short thing about my story of the day. It has to do with this storm. Apparently, Sydney the cat, the one that has adopted me and is basically an indoor cat, but he's been spending some more time outside, and poor thing, he was outside during that storm. He may, at first, I sometimes I get a little concerned that maybe he doesn't have some place to be because he can't go in the barn because Mopar would get into a fight with him. I always forget there's that spot where he can get underneath the house if he needs to, and I'm sure that's kind of still nerve wracking, especially with the skirting that was flopping around. But best I could tell, the last two rainstorms he's been in, he's I believe he's jumping into the hollowed out part of the wood stove that I have not gotten um, installed yet because he comes in there with soot. Well, that morning of the storm, you can see the front half of them was dry, but the back of them was wet and soaked. And you could tell the poor little thing was so freaked out. So I opened the door to let him in there. Of course, I had towels all over the floor because all the water that was being shoved out had been shoved down my hallway. I was soaking up towels or soaking up water with the towels, and he had never seen towels on the floor. And he goes running into the house and does that four-legged boing, and meowed real big. And he came down and saw another towel and did another one. So he did a double jump because he was just so freaked out. So he's calmed down now, and everybody's pretty much calmed down, and including myself. But yeah, that was interesting. I've seen some posts. It was another lady I know. I don't know what kind of building it was. It looked like a barn, but it didn't look like it was anchored down at all. And it was a big building. And it was laying on its side by her place. And she said that she didn't lose the animals, and that was good. But yeah, there's two or three places that actually has some pretty significant damage where 5 miles down the road there was no damage. It was not a tornado. There somebody speculated there may have been a tornado aloft, but we didn't have swirling wind. I thought, in fact, for a long time I thought the wind was directly just from the north, but the damage indicates there's probably more northwest. And so that's the reason it was able to get way up underneath my house. It did knock some plants off the front porch too, and I think Kinsey was able to rescue some of it. It did not take my green stock planter. I mean, some of the plants in it were looking a little worse for wear, but the green stock planter itself held up, and I was grateful for that. But yeah, some of the other plants that we had on there, and it was kind of funny because we had these plants, and they're in bigger pots, and so they weighed a little bit more. And here's this little plastic tray that had that of stuff that plants that we did not transplant, so they were just dying, and they were sitting on the table, and they didn't even blow. It was, I mean, like, and it was like 4 feet from the other stuff that did blow off. So I don't know. Storms are interesting. I think they're fascinating. I've seen a lot of storms over the years. I've been through a lot of them. But yeah, this I think because as an adult, I mean, because I used to when I was a teenager and had to go through storms as a kid, you see them and you think it's interesting and fascinating and stuff. But I didn't have any stake. There was no, there were I didn't have anything necessarily to lose, like monetarily in animals or a home or anything like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, basically, if mom and dad were the ones that had to take care of that stuff and not myself, and so that made a difference because I put so much into growing these animals and trying to take care of them and developing infrastructure to take care of them, and so much of it did get damaged. So I think that was part of the stress. But knowing that everybody was really okay made all of it okay, and I'm very grateful. Okay, my question of the day is: what are some storm stories that you have? I'd really like to hear them. Whenever I was a kid, I think I've mentioned this before too. I've always wanted to be a storm chaser, and I've always joked that I want to be a storm chaser when I grow up. And I'm going to be 61 in a couple of months, and apparently I haven't grown up because I still haven't been chasing any storms yet. So, but I would love to hear some of your storm stories, and so let me know. All right, income producing activity is Self Reliance Festivals, guys. That's coming up in October, and that sounds like it's a ways away, and I guess it is. But right now, it's the early bird, and it's $75 for the whole weekend. And they're going to have Joel Salatin there. There's going to be several other people that are going to be there. I'm going to be there. A lot of my friends that I've met over the last couple of years are going to be there too. I'm excited, but I would love it if you could come. So, but I also want you to go down to the link below for the Self Reliance Festival, that link, and sign up there. and come see me, and we'll meet each other at the Self Reliance Festival, and you can get some meet some neat people, not just the speakers and not just the people who are running the thing, but those who attend are really in general. I mean, we all have different mix of different people all the time, but the ones I've had contact with are very genuine people who want to help you, who encourage you. And in fact, that's where I met Ken Esch. No, I met him at Living Free in Tennessee workshop last year, and but he's still part of that group, and he's going to be there. So yeah, come meet some of us. Toolman Tim's coming down from Canada. He's going to be there. I love these guys. I really do. So I'd love to see you there. So go, like I said, go down that link below and click on for the selfreliancefestival.com. And that's part of a, uh, it is an affiliate link for me, so I will get a little bit, but it didn't cost anything more for you. All right, where I can be found. I've got the Grandma's Homestead YouTube channel, Farm Animal Life YouTube channel. I just posted a duckling video on it. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, on MeWe, Twitter, and Rumble. But my thing right now today is grandmashomestead.farm. That is my website. I try to do a weekly blog post that tells you what's going on with the farm, tells you, shows you the videos I posted, the podcasts I posted for the week, and I'm trying to get a few more recipes on there. I've got a section for devotions because I've written a couple of devotions and stuff. I just haven't gotten transferred onto the computer yet. But this is a website that I am working to expand as I go. And so check me out, grandmashomestead.farm. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. I'm hoping that you guys are not being blown away by storms too. I was communicating with a lady in southern Oklahoma, Snow Farms, and she's been having storms down there too. And I it feels like, because late March, early May, like when we had basketball, I always remember for a lot of years March Madness. There was usually almost always when you're trying to watch a basketball game, there's like a radar thing on the bottom of the corner telling you where the latest thunderstorm is and tornado warning and stuff like that. So this is kind of what it feels in a way, not completely, but in a way, with all these storms. It feels like March, late March, early May, and here it is, middle June. So I don't know. Life is interesting. Weather's interesting. Like, so I love it. Yeah, it can be stressful, but it can also be just absolutely wonderful. One way or another, it is interesting, fascinating, and wonderful to learn about. So, guys, live until you die, and take on the attitude of learning things, seeing things. You know, not just get out and live your life, but do it with enthusiasm. God, the word enthusiasm is enthusiast or something like that, is a root word of God within. And I always thought, you know what? I want to be enthusiastic in regardless of what I do. And I want in obviously genuine, you know. So, but yeah, live, guys. God bless. I'll see you next time. And hopefully it won't be any more storm stories for a while.